Welcome to the High Stake Podcast, where we talk to cool people that live here in Vegas. If you know, I've been in real estate for about 20 years, and over the last 20 years, I've changed companies 4 times. In 2019, I changed to what I hope to be my last company at Signature Real Estate, and my business has completely gone in a very good direction from before. And I am thankful for that. And I think one of the reasons why is because the culture here is great, but there's also the leadership. Today we have Brandon Roberts. Brandon, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Brandon, you own Signature Real Estate. Why don't you tell us a little bit before the real estate world? Where are you from? Are you from Vegas originally?
I'm actually originally from Salt Lake City, Utah. And I've been in real estate almost 30 years. Originally started in the restaurant business. And so that's where I got my start. That's what my dad did. And he thought that's what I should do too. So I did that for a while. And at 19, I owned a little deli. And at that point, I sold it and went into real estate cold turkey.
What, like, why real estate?
I have no idea.
Did you?
I honestly have no
Really?
idea. Yeah, I had a buddy that would come into my deli, and he was doing mortgages. It was during the refi boom in early 90s or mid 90s. And he said, you should come do mortgages with me. And I said, no, I don't want to do mortgages. I want to do real estate. So he got me the real estate school information. I went to the school and just did it. And I think it was about 3 weeks in, I'm sitting in a training going, what the heck did I do? I'm in sales. So
No sales background before other than having your own shop.
yeah.
When did you move to Vegas?
I moved here in 2008, actually January of 2008.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Market was
Crazy time, right?
crazy time.
And I came down, I actually bought the sub-franchising rights for a real estate franchise. I own franchises in Utah, real estate franchises, and I came down here to sell franchises and open offices in 2008. I probably should have done a little homework.
Nobody knew. Nobody knew.
Well, at that time, it was hitting.
It was hitting during
And
that time.
that's-
Yeah.
And that's why I moved here, is because I figured when I noticed that, I was like, the only way I can protect my investment is to sell my offices up there and move down here. So
Oh, so you actually started the real estate business up to the offices back in Salt Lake.
yeah, I had 3 offices up there and about 320 agents. Broker of the Year in 2007 for Exit Realty. That's the franchise company I was doing. That's what I came down to sell and push, and I did that for another 5 years down here, and then kind of got an opportunity to get out of that, and I did, and I opened Signature, never looked back.
When did you open Signature?
May of 2013.
You know, Brandon, like I said earlier when we started, I've been in 4 different companies. I don't think I've ever seen any owner of a franchise or of a company that is as involved as you are. You have weekly accountability, twice a week, which, by the way, I have a lot to say about that.
Yeah.
Yes, because I just had a conversation with somebody that has great energy, and she was telling me how most of it is from what you're coaching, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Why the difference, Brandon? What drives you to be as involved? You don't have to be, as I'm sure, but you're super involved in everybody, super available all the time. What drives you to get to that level of commitment to your own brand?
Part of it is because I love what I do.
Okay.
And I love who I work with, all the agents, everything. It's I believe like attracts like, and you start off good people and stuff like that. It builds upon that. But that's part of the reason I opened an office down here, because I'd gone down this path of being a regional owner and just basically trying to find people to build something and open offices and stuff, but I couldn't find me. And what I mean by that is somebody that really wanted to build something big. What I found was a lot of people that owned teams that wanted to own a brokerage but didn't really want to build something big. And I've just always been a builder and just love doing what I do. And I love working with the agents and just being part of it.
You still want to be in the streets with the rest of us?
No.
No, I want to be.
You guys work hard.
Yeah.
No, I do. Like I miss that sometimes. I miss working with the clients and stuff. It's rewarding when you're helping people, right?
Sure. No, it is. And but like I said, before the podcast, I was talking to somebody, and she was like, "Man, you need to read these books. You need to do this." I was like, and I asked her straight out. I said, "Where are you getting this energy?" Because I loved it.
Yeah.
Because here's what has happened to me, and I'm sure you deal with this a lot, and we'll talk about this because I think it's very prevalent in our society where work from home, which I completely disagree with. I've been working from home for the last 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. I don't want to admit it, but yeah, it's been like 3 weeks. And what happens when you are at home is you're not connected to the market. You're connected to your own deals, whatever is happening in your own little sphere, but you're not connected to the market. You don't know what's going on. It's not when you talk to other people that tells you different perspectives and views, points of views that you're actually in the market. What do you think of those people that work from home and not come to the office?
So I think you can be successful working from home. I've never been one to work from home, and part of that is because you do need the human interaction,
Yeah.
and you do need to connect. And
Yeah.
so if you're going to work from home in your own headspace, so to speak, you're going to have to make a bigger effort to tap into the market and the other stuff.
Yes.
Right? But when you're around people in the office or around people in the industry, then you pick up other things and you're kind of submerged into it, which makes it easier.
Oh, 100%. She came in with such a good vibe and such a good energy, and I said, the normal question. that
I
we
know who you're
always ask.
talking about.
I know.
She's pretty awesome.
She's incredible. And I asked her, I'm like, how you doing? How's business? And she goes, it's great. And I said, well, talk to me. And then you could tell that she wanted to share everything that she's been learning with you. And she just, you just need to read those books, and you need to do this, Chris, and you need to do that. And it was, all of a sudden I go, okay.
I got to do this.
All right, let's do this. And it was such a, not an aha moment because I already know about this, but it's such a refreshing situation where you go, yeah, I need to be here. This is where things happen. This is where this energy is needed. Like you said, you need interaction, especially on our tough business. How being in the sales? You're. I guess you could say that you're still in sales because you have to sell the company.
Do the same thing you
it's the same
do.
thing.
You're still having conversations, you're still building relationships, and you're still working through a process, basically.
Brandon, when you get to a level of owning a successful company as you have, what is your schedule like?
It's crazy. And it's really crazy for me the past 2 years, year and a half, because I'm also the president of Nevada Realtors.
Correct.
And so I ended up doing that, and thank goodness work with good people around me that helps leverage that. But like this month, I've been home 4 nights. June just seems to be a busy time with the state stuff, with board meetings, stuff like travel. We went to Washington, D.C. and stuff like that. So it's a little bit crazy, but it's very structured. You have to have structure to it, and I think everything starts with your schedule
100%.
or time blocking, and that's the only way you can operate.
4 nights at home. How's that?
That's not normal.
No, I understand that. Well,
but that's this month.
Going to when you're self-employed, I had a coach that said when you have your own business, you don't work 40 hours a week. You work 80 hours a week. How do you balance that with your family life?
So I disagree with that.
Okay.
What he said, I don't think you have to work 80 hours a week.
Talk to me.
Okay.
Preach.
I think, especially like in real estate, we think it's a 24/7 job, and it's not, right? It's about setting up boundaries and structure.
Okay.
And if you set that up, then you can balance your personal and your business. Like, I think it's crazy that we get into an industry so that we can have a better life, so to speak, and then we let the industry run us. And so I don't think you have to work 80 hours a week, and I think that's the first misconception, right? Structure it out,
I before doing this podcast, I did a lot of research on your approach to. I went into the signature page and I watched what I should have been watching when it came out, by the way, but I did watch it. And there's some things that you said that I went, and I wanted to bring them up. You are. There was one episode where you said the cold calling game, it's no longer as valuable as it used to be. You're talking to a guy that's what he does.
I know.
Let's talk about a little bit about that. Where's your? I'm always curious to see, because I'm kind of the old school of like, well, you have to pound the streets, you have to do all of this, otherwise it doesn't work. However, talking to this person that we were talking to, I started going back to what I was doing, and I go, Yeah, that works too. So, what are your thoughts on this, especially with social media and the spam calls that we get, all of us get?
Yeah.
Where is your approach on saying that it's not as strong as it used to be?
So know this, for years I taught cold calling.
Right. No, I know
I
that.
had a
Yeah.
week-long academy, and I taught the basics like scripts, dialogues, chasing business, hustling, grinding, all that kind of stuff. And it works, right? And that's part of the problem with it, is it does work, and but it's a lot of work to get there,
Very draining.
and it's a recipe for burnout, right?
1,000%.
Yeah, and so it takes somebody with a special character like yourself to be able to push through and do that for as many years as you have.
Yeah.
And what I found, and I even do some coaching, and what I found is I'm doing the coaching, and we're always pushing to call more. You got to talk to more. You get better at your scripts, all that stuff. And what I found was when I start talking to them, where are they getting their business? Yeah, you're getting some of it from that, but the majority of business comes from their sphere or the people
Yeah.
that they know, and it's the relationships. And then she mentioned a book. It's The Full Fee Agent.
I have. You gave that to me. Yes.
Written by Steve Scholl, and I read that book, right? And it's interesting how that happened. One of the people I coach got the book from Shelley Panzarella from not Citywide, Prosperity Lending, and she gave it to him, and he didn't really read it, but he showed it to me, and I thought, oh, that seems like an interesting book, interesting title. So I got it, and I read it, and it changed my whole thought process, like immediately. And I went, holy crap, everything I've been doing, everything I've been teaching is wrong. Like, and I don't mean it's wrong in a way of it doesn't work, because it does. But what my whole
burnout
process,
is real.
yeah, my whole process is, and I have this saying is all we teach you is real estate, we have failed. And to me, it's about a better life, better mindset, and building relationships. And the deeper you have relationships with your database or the people you know, the more business you're going to get. Yeah. And the easier it is just to have conversations with people. And when you're having conversations, you're just looking for life-changing events that cause real estate transactions.
Sure.
You're not calling for the purpose of prospecting business. And that was a huge mind shift, and it still is, because I still find myself sometimes when I'm interviewing an agent or working a deal trying to go for the kill, so to speak.
Right. Well, I mean, because that's what I've been ever since I started. It's been incrusted into our DNA, right? That you prospect.
You've wired your brain that way.
You wired the brain. I saw another post that you did that was great. That you said we're so focused on the outcome that we don't pay attention to the process. And it's something I know I butchered it, but
no, that's right.
But that's so important, though. That is so important, because I'm a numbers guy, because I have to keep the numbers. And I was showing her just now. I was like, well, I don't know how I feel about that, because it does work. But what people don't realize is the burnout is such an expensive, because it literally, I did it for 4 months. It's so hard for me to pick up the phone right now.
Yeah.
It's just incredibly, I go, oh my God.
But you're a social person, right? And you talk to people all the time.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you actually go back and look at your sales, it'd be interesting to know how many of that came from,
Not
referral
as many as I
and
would.
stuff like that.
Right. Versus this.
The other, and we spend so much time chasing business from people we don't know when there's so much being done with the people we do know, right? And we overlook that. And sometimes we don't want to impose on their lives or whatever, but overall it's there. And this whole concept is stop chasing business, right? Stop trying to get more. More is not the answer. More transactions isn't the answer. Better
Makes total sense.
leads to more, right? And
Yeah.
better is the way to go. And so if you focus on the things you can control, managing your time and your systems and your processes and cultivating relationships, you focus on that because that's inside your control. The rest of the stuff will take care of itself. Just trust in that process.
Yeah.
What happens, though, is we think that we're not doing enough, and we think that we have to have more business and more chaos and more busyness. And that leads to productivity, and it doesn't. And what it does is it leads to the chaos in your life and the unbalance, which causes the burnout, which causes health problems because we're cutting corners and we're putting people off and all that other kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So It really is just slowing down a little bit, focusing on what we can control. See, we're in a business in real estate that the only time we get paid is when
we perform.
when you perform or when you close the deal,
Yeah.
when that transaction actually closes. You go out, you show a property or you list a property and you go through and you negotiate a contract, and all the way through that process, there's so many things that can go wrong that you have no control over.
Yeah.
The appraisal, change of mind from the buyer or the seller, loss of job, anything else. You don't get paid if anything of that happens. So if you're emotionally attached to that outcome,
You're done.
you're done.
Done.
And most agents are, because they've already spent the check
Sure.
and they haven't even got it yet.
Do you think they also get so attached to that transaction because they don't do as many transactions as they should be doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they were counting on that one. I don't know what the average is for agents nationwide, but I don't think it's that many because it's a hard business.
It can be.
It can be, but your approach, what you're saying now, and believe me, you're doing the right thing, because what I saw this agent, that energy, I want that in my life every day. You know what I mean? Fresh air. It's like, no, stop. Has it been hard for you to adapt? I know you've been saying a little bit that you have to catch yourself when you're interviewing new agents. How has it helped you in your personal life to come to this approach?
So I have a different demeanor than a lot of people. Like, I'm pretty laid back, and I don't react.
Okay.
I take information in and I formulate a response, right? And that's really what it is. Just slow down and respond rather than react. I think one of the big problems we have in our industry is the emotion.
Yeah.
And we get emotion between agents,
Absolutely.
we get emotion between buyers and sellers, and agents and sellers, and whatever. And a lot of that, we have to understand, most decisions are made based on emotion. And we're always trying to convince people logically to do something, but they don't do things logically. They make emotional decisions, and then they rationalize it by logic.
Sure.
And so for me, it's just been slowing down and going through that process of getting everyone else slow down. And the biggest thing is agents fear losing the deal because they don't know where the next one's coming.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And so they smother it. And they focus on it. And when they're focused on it, they're not focusing on income generating activities or babysitting it through, which means that at the end of that transaction, they're not
done.
going to have another one.
Yeah.
And so now they got to go through another cycle of chasing another deal.
How do you? What would you recommend to a new agent coming into this market? Not the easiest market, but still. By the way, there's still a lot of sales happening, from what I heard this morning. Yeah. Which that tells you, show up to the office. You see
Our sales are up, actually.
Let's talk about that. So
our sales are up.
Those are great news
as a company. Right?
No, that's great news. What do you tell an agent that's coming in? What's your sales pitch? Not a sales pitch, but what do you recommend as somebody that is thinking about joining real estate?
Learn to make cold calls. No,
There
just
you
kidding. There's a place for it, though, right? There is a place for it, and if you don't have your database and stuff, you learn that stuff, and it's all part of the process. But for me, a new agent coming in is coming in at the best time. The ones that are struggling the most are the ones that came in when the market was really good. They didn't have to learn.
That is so true.
Right? And they're freaking out when a house takes 3 weeks to get an offer.
Right.
Right. Whereas because before it was 3 hours. And so they never learned that. Way back when I got in '96, my first listing that I sold took 5.5 months.
Yeah.
That was just normal.
Yeah.
And so getting in now is great. With the settlement and the way we have to get buyer agency agreements and everything else, they're coming in, they're learning that way. They don't know anything from the difference. Best time to get in.
Do you recommend an agent coming into a team or going solo?
I think that's different for everyone, based on what it is. But I think there's a lot of pluses to joining a team and learning that process. Now, the reason teams aren't for everyone, or let me rephrase that a little bit. Not every team is for everyone.
Sure.
Because teams operate differently.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And so I think it's a lot of it is being clear on what you want or the direction you want your business to go, and then finding the right team for that. And it's the same as joining a brokerage, right? Not every brokerage is for everyone. And so the problem with just getting in is you don't know what you don't know. And so you may not know what to ask, and you may end up, in the wrong situation.
Sure.
Because you didn't know.
Because you don't know. Brandon, when did you decided to get into coaching as you have done? What was that decision into help the agents that you have right now?
So for me, I've always had a coach, right?
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah.
And one that really helped me. It's interesting because about 5 years into my career, I went out and opened my own brokerage. It was Infinity Real Estate Group in Utah, me and a partner, another agent in the office. And we pushed that thing for 6 years, and we just couldn't grow past 9 agents. And it was 9 agents that didn't sell anything.
Yeah.
We had 4,200 square feet in office space, and it was me and him in there, right? And when I bought into that franchise, it wasn't the franchise that made me successful. It was a gentleman by the name of Alex Sinig, who was one of their trainers and coaches. And he coached me for 5 years and got me up to the level. And it really was just, he told me what to do and I did it, right? And I give him a lot of credit, but he goes, no, I coached a lot of people and a lot of people didn't do it, right? You put the work in, right?
Yeah.
And so as I was going through this, it's just a natural thing as a broker, you're always kind of coaching. But for like the accountability calls and stuff like that, when I read that book, I just reached out to Steve Scholl, the author, and that's my coach now. Like if I'm going to indoctrinate myself in this, I'm going to go to the guy.
You went full
knows
force.
it, right? And this book was written by him and a gentleman by the name of Chris Voss. Chris
Right.
Voss wrote They Never Split the Difference.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's negotiations and mindset and stuff like that. So I went to him. Well, this guy, like, it's amazing what he does. He does accountability calls every day, right? And he does them all through the day. He's got small groups. He's got his accountability call. He's got trainings that he's doing. I think that guy's on Zoom all day long, right? And so when I started looking at it, I'm like, this is genius. Like, to have these calls, to be able to tap in where agents can come in or out and you record them, and I just thought it was genius. Well, I could commit to 2 days a week,
That's a great
Tuesday
concept.
and Thursday, 8:30 to 9, and we got 75 plus agents that are jumping on those calls, and it's the best way for me to connect with my agents and just to stay involved.
That is incredibly cool, man, because like I said, you don't see a lot of owners being that involved and being that excited about something that they learned and wanted to share it, because I'm pretty sure that's a big part of it, right? You wanted to share it, just like as this agent wanted. She's like, if you're not in this, what are you doing, man? And I go, okay, because I drink the pill. Like immediately, she was such good vibe coming in and coming strong. We've been talking about your business, Brandon, and this great company that you've built, and everything is good and everything is great. But also markets happen and bad things happen. How do you deal with the bad times? What do you tell yourself when things are not going the right way? Things that are outside of our control, like market, interest rates, et cetera. What happens there?
Well, I mean, you have to focus on what you can control, and it's you, right? I can throw a pity party for myself and say, hey, sales are down, because they dropped. Like in mid 2022, we were hot market, and it almost stopped.
In July, yeah.
And so going through that, you just trust in the thing. You do the things you can control, and part of it is they're a blessing, actually, because what happens is we get lazy or we get complacent in a good market, and you spend extra money in your brokerage or on leads or different things like that. You throw a lot of stuff away. And when a market tightens up, it causes you to refocus on what you have
100%.
to give yourself the opportunity to make yourself stronger. And the companies that make it through and the agents that make it through are going to be much better in the long run. So I look at them as a good thing. And we've been through some. Like, we went through the recession or the downturn in 2007, 8, 9, 10, through that, and we rebound. And honestly, when I moved here, I saw vacant houses and everything else, and I'm like, this town will never recover.
Right. No, it was
And
very rough. Yeah, it's going 100
Yeah.
miles an hour. It's going 100 miles an hour. So you pretty much keep on going.
That's all
When
you
things are
can do,
bad.
right?
That's all you can do.
Double down, work more efficiently.
On the prospecting world, going back to, not that I'm married to cold calling, but I do understand the value of having a lot of conversations with a lot of people every day. If we're not paying as much attention as to a cold call day, what would be a daily schedule for a normal agent? Like, what do you teach when you are having these accountability calls? What's the accountability of? how many people you meet or
Yeah, so that's the word accountability call can be a little deceiving because it's not like your traditional coaching call where you're like, "What are you committing to this week? Did you make the
okay,
calls?"
okay.
No, it's not like that at all. It's about it's a transformation really is where we're taking it, and
Mind change.
yeah, because what we have to realize, there's nothing wrong with any of us. We've just been, our minds are just programmed a certain way, right? We're programmed for safety and security and not to put ourselves in uncomfortable positions, to keep out of danger. And so it's really just about expanding that and taking and saying, hey, working on what you can control and taking small steps. It's simple as, if you're still going to have to make calls. You still have to make connections. It's just who are you calling? You should be calling the people
Smart.
you know first.
Smart.
And there's nothing wrong with making calls outside of that, and having real estate conversations and looking for opportunity. That's all good, and I think that should be part of everyone's business plan. What I would say is stay away from trying to chase and convince people to work with you.
Makes the
Right?
mindset change. Yeah.
Because that's the harder thing. If we're having conversations and we're working with people that want to work with us, those transactions are going to be easier. And it's about building trust. And when you can build trust through questions and listening, like active listening, and they call it tactical empathy in the book, and Chris Voss talks about it in his book. It's about making them feel understood, because once somebody feels heard, then they'll listen to you. But until they feel heard, everything you say is just going to
Don't
go
matter. It's really about the client. It's 100% about
100%.
the client.
And it's about understanding who makes the decision in these transactions. It's the client, and it's empowering them to be able to make the decision, and not being emotionally tied to their decision.
Their decision. Yeah.
Like if they don't want to do a price reduction, they're not going to do a price reduction. And we should stop trying to convince them to do a price reduction.
I
We
agree.
should be listening to what their goals are and stuff, and asking them questions and giving them the information so that they can decide when it's right for them. And then when it's right for them, they'll make that decision.
when dealing with people, when dealing with what we're dealing, like we as agents deal with the consumer, you're dealing with agents, which I'm pretty sure that's not easy either, right? Because we are our own little stars in our own head, and we all have our own egos. And you're a pretty laid back. Do you ever get in situations where you go, I don't want to be that nice? Because you're extremely nice, Brendan. I've never seen you upset. And I'm pretty sure that some of us upset the shit out of you.
No, here's
How
the
do you
thing.
deal with heated situation? Brother, this is a very hard gig, and I'm sure you deal with a lot of sometimes heated situations like we do in real estate. How do you deal with that?
So, number one, don't take it
Don't
personal.
react.
Don't be emotional and don't react, right? Number two is, yes, we have tough conversations. I mean, we get paid to have tough conversations.
That's right.
Don't shy away from them. Have them, right? And just be straight up. Tell people straight. And when you do that, there's usually better respect there. The other thing is brace them for it. We need to have a tough conversation, and here it is, and then you lay it out, and then you give them their options, and then let them make their decision.
That's a great. That's a great line. Hey, listen, we gotta have a tough conversation.
The other thing is don't operate from fear. You see, I don't operate from the fear of I don't want to have this tough conversation with you because I fear you're going to leave my brokerage, or I don't want to have this tough conversation because I fear you're going to fire me from the listing, or you're not going to want to buy a home from me. No, they're going to respect that in the long run. And if you leave because of it, then you leave because of it.
Right. It was meant to be anyway.
Yeah, and it's a decision that you have to make, and I can't control any decision that a seller makes, a buyer makes, an agent makes. And so all I can do is control what I do, and it's my job as a broker to deliver the tough news, right? Mm-hmm. And then you can digest that, and we can go from there.
In a sales environment or in the business that you're in, which is talking to people, having the positive mindset every day could be a little daunting. You're saying keep doing the same thing, but I mean that's harder. What do you really say when things are just tough? I mean, do you continue doing the same schedule? I mean, do not deviate, or are there days where you go, you know what? There's nothing that I can do today. I'm just going to take a day off.
Yeah. There are.
You know?
And sometimes you have to.
Right.
Sometimes you just have to reset. I remember a few years back, I remember I was in the front conference room of our office, and I was laying out, and I was excited about the next year, and I'm laying out the plans on the wall, and I'm like excited. And a really good friend of mine, an agent, came in and gave me notice that she was going to go somewhere else. I put the marker down, and I went home. That was the day, and it went from to the bottom immediately. And it was a lot because I cared about the person a lot, still friends, and still wish her the best and everything else. And what I had to do is I just took it personal at that point, right? Which is a natural reaction. But my day was done. And it was okay because I just reset, restructured, and went. And we're gonna fall down, right? And the idea is to limit the distance or the time between falling down and getting back up, right? Just get better at it. But we're gonna have down days.
Brother, you've dropped some bombs of information here, man. I really appreciate you coming down. What's next for Signature? What do we have going on? Because, by the way, I'm super happy being here at Signature. Great
this
office.
is your last brokerage.
Like I said, I don't want to go.
There's only
through,
one way out, and that's not a good way to go.
No. I don't. I'm staying in. I'm super happy, and I think everybody who knows me can tell because I talk wonders about this company, and it's been great for me and my business and my team, and what an office that you guys supply, and it's great. What's going on with Signature? We opened a few offices. I don't leave Green Valley as much as I should, but where are our offices besides Green Valley?
So we have one in Centennial on Grand Montecito, and then we've got one in the Southwest off Russell in the 215, and then we have one in Elko, Nevada.
Oh,
a little one.
Okay.
But yeah, I like Elko. I don't know why so much, but
Dang.
I've traveled up there a lot with the board, and I've met some great people up there. And one of them approached me, and I just said, "Sure, why not?"
Oh, wow!
And so we did, and it's there. It's good stuff, and we've got some. Just stay tuned. There's something big coming.
Okay.
I can't roll it out yet, but just stay tuned.
I get it. Guys, if you are considering joining real estate, do your due diligence, of course, but I highly recommend you guys to come to Signature. Everybody here is super helpful, very knowledgeable, and you're going to have the support of a big company, but they make you feel like family. I really thank you, Brandon, for being here with us, and thank you for everything that you do, man.
Yeah.
We're excited about what's coming.
I look forward to seeing you on the accountability calls.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I was supposed to be there today. No, yesterday.
Yeah.
But I couldn't make it. But I am definitely going to be in. I did watch a lot of your content. But yeah, I am eating everything you're saying, and this is great. And thank you so much once again.
Yeah, appreciate your time.
Thank you, Brandon.
You bet.
Thanks.